Cry for the franchise. This movie sucks. Cry for the franchise. It fucking blows. Thou shalt fail. Welcome to another video. This time around, it is absolutely a rant on what is, in my opinion, one of the worst direct-to-video sequels out there. The Lost Boys, The Tribe. The picture here really sums up my feelings on the film quite well. When I think about this movie, I feel like I'm screaming in bloody anger and anguish internally. This is a stupendously shitty movie and shitty sequel. I know it has its I know it has its fans, teach their own. I don't personally get it. This film is not only a half-assed remake in a lot of ways of the massively superior first film, but any of the new elements it brings into the fold are really cringy, like really bad in a multitude of different ways. This film was really painful to sit through for me. And I saw it before, years ago. I remember not liking it, but I don't remember it being this awful. I knew it was bad, but I didn't remember it being this excruciatingly bad. It's one of those films that I had to stop like halfway through because it was just too much. It was just pressing all the wrong buttons, and it was causing my blood to boil. I also like to call this film Lost Boys The Tripe, because this film is a pile of stinking, rotten vampire guts. It's directed by Pesce, and might as well be PJ POS or BJ POS, blowjob and a piece of shit. A blowjob on a piece of shit. It's a really bad image. I'm apologize, but you know what? That's kind of how bad this movie is. It's like if you watched somebody give a blowjob to a piece of shit, it's like watching Lost Boys: The Tribe. This film is in every way, shape, and form except for Corey Feldman and I guess the practical gore when it is there, just the worst. It really is. Like I put this on the same pedestal of just pain as other sequels like Alien 3 or trying to think of like Alien 3 or The Gate 2 or sorry, I'm just thinking about this movie and it's just giving me indigestion. Cult of Chucky. Just the worst, shittiest sequels you can think of. Creepshow 3. It is on the same level as those films. Because it is absolutely pointless for the most part, and it doesn't get really much of anything right. I felt that PJ Pesce's direction was really bad. I thought it was really crappy in more than one way. For some reason, he decided to have way too many scenes, have slow-mo when they didn't need them at all, or speed up the camera in some, I guess, half-hearted attempt to try to make the film more edgy or something, or make it stand out visually, but it just made it look even cheaper and even worse. I don't think he got a single good performance out of anybody except for Corey Feldman, and I don't even think it's really even the direction that's the reason for it. I think Corey was just the only one who tried, and the director never really bothered to get more takes or get people to try harder. or maybe he just realized the really crappy cast he had and realized how bad they were in terms of their performances and their acting ability, that he was just like, all right, you know, I guess I'm just going to have to shoot this crap at the screen and deal with this crap and hope it sticks. I have nothing against the guy personally. He's probably a nice guy, but I really did think his direction was a piece of shit. I thought it looked terrible. Nothing about it was visually appealing or interesting in any way. There's a lot of shots that looked pretty muddy looking, or looked like they were just shot with a digital camcorder. There's nothing cinematic about this film. I guess you could say maybe the sequences that were shot of like the ocean, but this is a movie, not a nature documentary. And the screenplay by Hans Rodinoff. Oof. Ooh. This was like rancid beef stroganoff. Like, it was really displeasurable. This screenplay, it rehashes and repeats not only the plot of the first film once, but twice. So you have this whole thing with a group of lost boys, of vampires, and you have these siblings, but who run afoul of the lost boys. But in this film, it's an older brother and a younger sister instead of a older brother and a younger brother. So it's a younger sister that gets involved with the vampire group and falls for the head vampire and drinks the blood and becomes half vampire. And that's the like the first half of the movie, and then like the last 20 minutes or so is just the same dynamic, the same plot as the first film, but this time around the only difference is that the older brother willingly decides to become half vampire and join the group. Instead of unwillingly, or not really knowing that what he was drinking was blood and then he became a vampire. He does it on purpose so he can infiltrate the ranks. That's the only difference. So, I mean, it's astonishing, really. I mean, a lot of times with these lazy sequels, they'll copy the first film, but not like this, where they'll copy it twice. This is like cheating on a test and copying not only one person's answers, but another person's answers, or copying the same person's answers twice in this and in one test. Um, yeah, it is a really bad script. The characters, they're not likable in the slightest. They don't really have much personality. There's other characters that are thrown into the fold that are insufferable. The new Lost Boys are just a bunch of douchebag surfer bros or surfer bras, and they are really obnoxious and nowhere near as interesting or intimidating or captivating as the original Lost Boys were in the first film. The two leads in this story of Chris and Nicole Emerson, they are unlikable. They have no chemistry with one another. There's this weird dynamic between the two that is like the opposite of brother and sister. Like, you get this will they won't they vibe, and that's really just icky, and does not help the film in any way. And then you have fucking Shane Powers, who is the new head vampire. And I'll give the script this. It got one thing right in terms of borrowing from the first film and actually changing some things around, where they made it so the main head vampire is the David kind of character. But the problem is, despite the guy having a last name Sutherland, Angus Sutherland, he was just straight up ass in this. He can't act at all. He is, honestly, he was Tommy was so bad, but like the Tommy was so kind of acting that doesn't have the so bad it's good qualities. So he's not quite over the top enough in terms of his atrocious acting to kind of become good and watchable. He's below that point, so he's just incredibly hard to watch. Stumble and slur through his lines. I can definitely say for sure the acting gene did not carry over to Angus's side of the family. Uh, yeah, and there's a reason why he hasn't done very much after this, because he's an awful actor. And everyone else wasn't much better, from Sean Sipos to Merwin Mondesir to Kyle Cassie. Tom Savini's in this in a bit role, like in the very beginning, as a vampire who gets his head ripped off and thrown in the ocean, and it's really a nothing role. He does an okay job, but it was fun to see Tom, but it was a total wasted cameo, and honestly, I'm just thinking about this scene. One of the best ways to describe this movie and how bad it is and how inferior it is to the first film is there is a half-assed attempt to satire or satirize the first film with a shot of this like really fat guy, this fat shirtless guy with a saxophone, which is clearly trying to be a play on the shirtless and muscular guy. I think it was Tim Capello from the first movie. They're trying to like do a play on that, and the guy can't play the saxophone, and he's a fat ass, and he shouldn't be shirtless. Yeah, that's a prime example of how lame and how shitty this sequel is. Nothing about the script is at all interesting or captivating in any way. It just plays out as a really bad retread and repeat of the first film. There are numerous references to much more superior films. Not only do you have that whole bit with the saxophone guy, but you also have a scene where the movie literally stops so it can advertise The Goonies on DVD. And it doesn't stop there, because there's a trailer for the Goonies DVD before the movie even starts on this disc. I love the Goonies, but I don't need to be advertised the Goonies in a Lost Boys direct-to-video sequel, especially in a film as bad as this is, because it just makes me want to stop the film, eject it out of my Blu-ray player, and just put in the Goonies again, because I know I would be guaranteed to have a much better time watching that than I would watching Lost Boys The Tripe. It's just unbelievable. This fucking landlord lady was like, "Hey, I've got the Goonies and Dunkin' Donuts. Do you want to watch the Goonies?" And you're like, yeah, I would like to watch the Goonies instead of this fucking movie. But you know what? I'm stuck with this piece of shit. And like I said, it doesn't stop there, because you have the Goonies reference, then you have a scene where this guy literally might as well just be Limp Bizkit, or Limp Dick. So Limp Dick, he's fucking quoting the Warriors. Warriors, come out and play. It's not even a Warner Brothers movie, so what? And that's another film I'm like, yeah, I really would be better off watching The Warriors right now than Lost Boys The Tribe. Why do you have to keep reminding me of films that are much better than you are? Or the guy even, Limp Dick says, "I'm on the top of the world, ma." You know, like James Cagney did, I think in White Heat. Another much better movie, or Dennis Christopher in Fade to Black. Oh man. And the script doesn't have an ounce of legitimate character development. You don't know jack shit about any of these characters except the brother and sister or brother and sister. I guess there's something involving Shane being like this surfer guy who quit because I guess he didn't want to be a surfer anymore or didn't want to be in the limelight or whatever the fuck. There's this other guy, Limp Dick, apparently was some jerk off surfer who rubbed the lead guy, Chris, the wrong way. And they got in a fight or something, and Chris got kicked out of surfing. It's like, why should I give a shit about this? Who cares? Who cares about the drama of these surfer bras? And I don't buy that guy's a fucking surfer. If you take one look at this guy doesn't look like he can balance himself on a fucking balance beam. This guy doesn't look like he could do anything athletic. It's fucking Limp Dick over here ain't gonna do shit on a surfboard. So, yeah, you don't care about these characters. There's this whole thing about the brother and sister. Oh, their parents died, and this brother is overprotective of the sister. It's all the same shit you've seen done in a million other movies and done better in those films. And it doesn't even give you any real depth to the vampire characters, to the new Lost Boys. If you're going to do a sequel, like, maybe try to improve upon the first film. Some of the things that didn't quite work with the first movie, like giving some more backstory to these characters. Nope, nothing. Other than they were surfers at one point. Or at least some of them were. The other ones, I don't know what the fuck. They literally say in one scene that this one guy, oh, he did some bad shit or whatever. They just basically insinuate he was a criminal, and that's it. That's all. He was a criminal. He needed a new life. Needed to be put in the witness protection program or some shit, and we came in and turned him into a vampire. And now he's a part of our group. Find this movie, man. The sister character, Nicole Emerson, she drinks the blood of the head vampire, starts becoming half vampire. She gets taken home by her brother because she met the guy Shane Powers at a party, and she does the whole thing. Well, I'm not feeling well, and the brother, for a good reason, assumes that she's drunk. But she's like, no, I'm not drunk. I'm something else. And then takes her home. There's this scene, and it's played straight. And it's just laughable beyond belief. She's like, oh, I feel sick, and I don't feel right. And it's like, you're just drunk. The brother's just like, you're just drunk. Like, just rest or whatever. And then she grabs him by the fucking throat, lifts him up in the air. And I'm not kidding. They dubbed this like really low voice while she's saying these lines. So she grabs him by the throat and she goes, I'm not drunk. I'm sick. And you're just like, what the fuck is this? I'm not drunk. I'm sick. And then she passes out. What the fuck is this fucking trash? This hot garbage fire. God. What? Oh, man. Sorry. Like, that's the moment when I stopped the movie. I was like, nope. I'm not watching the rest. I'm done. I'm done for tonight. And then I watched the rest of it the next day. Fuck. Um, and there's just this other stuff. Like, there's a scene where, okay, you get to the 20-minute mark. I mean, 20 minutes left in the movie mark. And the brother character, Chris, he, he decides he's going to win over the vampire group, the group of Surfer Bra vampires, by skateboarding with them on motorcycles while they're like messing with the cops. It's just what? So I guess he wins them over because he does some sweet skateboarding moves, and there's also this kind of half romance thing between him and this other girl from the group, but then it leads to nowhere because she just tries to bite his neck, and then he impales her on some deer antlers, and she turns to stone for some reason and then explodes. I didn't know that that was a side effect of being a vampire, is that you turn into stone when you die, like you're fucking, like you just got looked at by Medusa, like all of a sudden you just turned to stone. Like, what? When was that ever established in this franchise? And then other weird stuff too, like Ager Frog is a surfboard shaper. Yeah, he's a vampire hunter and a surfboard shaper. Makes no sense. Why the hell would Ager Frog be a guy who would stay in Santa Clara and then like do some shit with the surfboard shaping? Or actually, it's Luna Bay. Sorry, it's some other place. But why the hell would he fucking shape surfboards? It makes no sense. You would think he would own a comic book shop, since I think he did, or at least he worked at one with his brother. Why the hell would he fucking do that shit? Why would he fucking? I know that you're like, oh, that's a little thing. It's a little thing, but it's a lot when it comes to this movie. They just don't even get the franchise or get the characters right. But I will give the screenplay this. There were some okay kind of fun lines of dialogue that they gave Ager. I like the whole frog juice thing where he drinks raw eggs mixed with garlic and holy water. And Corey Feldman is the only actor in this entire movie that is actually trying. And I actually did not mind his character. I didn't mind the scenes with him in it. But here's the thing with this movie. Even with those scenes, I get scenes that are just as good as his scenes in this movie, if not better, in the third movie, The Thirst. So it's not like his scenes make this film good or make this film tolerable to me. It's still terrible, even with Corey Feldman giving it his all and trying and having charisma and personality and having some fun moments, like when he blows up a vampire's head with a holy water water balloon launcher. But the climax is mostly just this really lame wannabe Michael character in Chris Emerson, played by Tad Hilgenbrink, who is a poor man's God, what the fuck is his name? I just saw a film with him in it too. Poor man's Sean William Scott. Poor man's Stifler. He really is. Like, he's a fucking poor man's Stifler. From the way he looks, from the way he acts. And they got Angus Sutherland, who man, that guy was so fucking bad. It was just embarrassing to watch him try to emote or deliver lines of dialogue throughout this movie. By the time the film was over, I actually honestly felt a little bit bad for him. It's like, come on, man. Like, Kiefer should have been like, don't do it. Like, you don't have the chops. But no, he did it anyway. And Autumn Reeser was just, I just didn't care for this character that she played in Nicole. She was bubbly to the point where she was obnoxious and annoying. Gabrielle Rose was just a bitchy aunt who was also their landlord. and she was just there to berate her nephew Chris and his sister every now and then. The movie even ends with her berating them, talking about, like, if I see 1 ounce of weed, I'm gonna kick you out. It's like, who gives a fuck? Who cares? And she's, like, focusing on, like, weed when she's staring right at them while they're sitting on the couch covered in fucking blood. Like, weed? Lady! They're covered in blood sitting on the fucking couch. What I would think you would be like, why are you covered in blood? Not like, if I see 1 ounce of weed or marijuana, I will not hesitate to evict you. Like, what the fuck? Like, get your priorities straight, woman. God. And it's also really boring and dull because you don't care about any of these characters. They're not likable. They're not captivating or intriguing. There's nothing about them that makes you latch onto them or sink your teeth into any of them. So you're just bored. The only time you might perk up is when Corey Feldman shows up, but then he leaves, and then you're stuck with fucking poor man Sean William Scott and his sister and Angus Sutherland, and you're just stuck with nothing to really make it worth your while. And then the movie rushes its climax. It just wants to get it over with. Which, hey, you know what? I think that's actually a good thing when it comes to this shitty film. All right, you just want to get things over with? I'm all for that. I'm all right. You have this really short fight between Chris and the head vampire, Angus Sutherland, and he gets stabbed by his sister. And then Angus Sutherland, gets his head cut off. Yeah, he gets stabbed by, not his sister, not Angus Sutherland's sister. He gets stabbed by Chris's sister. And then you have Chris, who pops up behind him with a katana that I guess he got from Egger, and cuts his head off. And then he dies. And that's fucking it. Because up to that point, all of the other vampires, except for this one guy that gets his head blown off by Egger, were already killed. Were killed previously, or were taken out before the final battle. So it's just Chris and Shane, and Shane spends most of the fight just beating the ever-loving fuck out of Chris. Just punching him in the face repeatedly. And Egger just sits there and doesn't do much. I think he gets knocked out or gets thrown across the room by Shane or whatever, but it's not much of a fight. It's just about as limp and lame as the rest of the movie between Chris and Shane. And it's like, why should I give a shit anyway? I don't care about any of these characters. They could fucking bite each other's heads off for all I care. There's no atmosphere. There's no sense of genuine mood or creepiness or eeriness like there was in the first film. The way the film is edited was absolutely egregious. I hated the editing in this movie by Amanda Kit Paul. I hated it. It was so annoying and irritating. Slowed down way too much with slow-mo and then sped up for no fucking reason. There's choppy moments where things are cut together in ways that really don't enhance anything, whether it's the action sequences, especially the gore. Like, for some reason, it's like they turned the fast forward button on when it comes to any of the sequences involving vampires biting people or anything like that. It's just all of a sudden it's on fucking fast forward, and it's just it's the epitome of irritating. It adds nothing to the film. It doesn't make any of these sequences better. It makes them so much worse. And also the way the director shot any of the effect sequences made them look fake as fuck. No sense of subtlety, no sense of hiding things, no sense of making them look like they're not just really cheap latex effects and fake blood spraying. The vampire lair for the surfer bras was really forgettable and lame. They have this repeated gag where they like stab each other, and it's supposed to be funny, and I'm like, why? Why is this funny that they're like just mutilating one another for shits and giggles? I don't know how the hell this made records when it came out. Apparently, when this came out on video, it like broke records. Sold like over 1 million copies on home video. What a fucking joke. Like over 1 million copies of this fucking shit. So that means this made money. But I'll say if there's one positive to the 1 million copies sold, that's probably why The Thirst was made. And that movie is 1 million times better. So, okay, there's like one positive for this fucking movie. It got The Thirst made, and Corey Feldman was in it. Oh, Corey Haim had a little bit too in the mid-credit scene, but it was really nothing. It was nice to see him, but it was a nothing scene. You also had Jameson Newlander, but he had way more to do in The Thirst. This is just pointless. You could just skip this fucking movie and just watch The Thirst. Or just sit in a couch and drink beer for an hour and a half. Like the characters, the brother and sister character did at the end of the movie. Because the movie literally ends with them just sitting on the fucking couch, opening a beer and just drinking beers. That's the end of the fucking movie. It's like the movie just stopped. It just quit. It gave up. It was just like, it killed. Angus Sutherland is dead. All the other Lost Boys are dead. Let's just sit down and just drink a beer and try to forget it all. The movie literally is trying to drink itself into a stupor by the end of the fucking running time. Oh, man. The cinematography is nothing special by Barry Donlevy. The music by Nathan Barr. What is this score? It's not atmospheric. It's nowhere near as legitimately memorable or something that elevates the film in any way. In a lot of ways, it detracts from the film or hurts it because you got pieces of music that don't really fit with the tone or with what you think the filmmakers are trying to go for. And isn't there like some kind of country music kind of? This is a weird score. I don't know what this composer was thinking. It sounds like it's from a completely different movie most of the time. And the performances, they're all fucking pitiful and pathetic. Tad Hilgenbrink, Angus Sutherland, Autumn Reeser. The only one that's not pathetic is Corey Feldman. Everyone else is bad. Fucking limp dick. In particular, especially when he's trying to be intimidating. There's even a dumb scene where they're hanging out with these girls at the beach and they're like telling stories, and then they're like, we're vampires. And then they're like, oh yeah, come on, yeah, sure, ha ha ha. No, seriously, we're vampires. You're just like, yeah, and seriously, this movie fucking sucks. Oh, man. Fucking hell. I don't really know what else to say about this film. I mean, it doesn't really do the first film justice. It's a pointless, shitty sequel that looks cheap. There's no effort put into it from a writing standpoint. Uh, it seems like this was rewritten. Like, this was originally a screenplay called The Tribe, which was going to be about surfing werewolves. Yeah, that's a great idea. Just about as good as surfing vampires, which is what they went with this fucking piece of shit. So yeah, surfing werewolves called The Tribe, but it was turned down by studios including Warner Brothers because it was too similar to The Lost Boys. So instead of doing an original, unique sequel, they just adapted a script which was about surfing werewolves that was turned down because it was too much like The Lost Boys. I would have rather they just made the surfing werewolves movie, because then that would have at least not had anything to do with the Lost Boys franchise. Man. There's also like a bunch of rock songs in this, and they all suck. I don't care for the cover of Cry Little Sister. I think the cover that's used in The Thirst is better. Like, that's another thing that's better about The Thirst. Pretty much everything about The Thirst is better than The Tribe or The Tripe. Yeah, I really got nothing else to say about this movie. I probably talked about it more than I thought I was going to, because there really isn't a whole lot to this film. There's some blood, there's some gore, there's some tits. None of it saves the film from sucking epic amounts of bat dick and vampire dick and vampire bat dick. And it's just really one of the worst sequels that I have ever seen, because there is really nothing redeemable about it. Even Corey Feldman and the scenes that he's in, they're short. It's almost like it's just an extended cameo, and even the best of this film is done better in The Thirst, or done better in The Lost Boys, the first film. Uh If I could, I would take a stake and I would ram it up this movie's ass. While this movie is on fire. So I'd light this movie on fire, ram a stake up its ass, and call it a day. And then I would drink some beer and try to forget that I ever witnessed such a woefully inept and incompetent, idiotic, and absolutely atrocious sequel. Get this trash out of here.